Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts. And I'm excited to kick off Season 2 of our podcast series in partnership with Rappahannock Electric Cooperative. It's called We Are REC. Every week we'll release a new episode talking to different people from REC about a host of different topics. We'll get tips for saving money on your electric bill. We'll talk about renewable energy and the impact it can have in our communities. We'll get some behind-the-scenes info about what happens when the power goes out in a storm. Don't miss out on information about community grants, scholarships, REC-hosted events, and more. Get every single episode on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or on Spotify. Just do a quick search for We Are REC. Hello and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. As you are listening to the show today, happy Friday, happy Extension Office Friday. We are actually, though, pre-recording today's show over Zoom. I am sharing a Zoom screen today with Molly Beardsley. She is a SNAP education agent based in Page County under the Family and Consumer Sciences Food, Nutrition, and Health Program of the Virginia Extension Office. And Molly, this is your second time on the Valley Today show, but it is our first time on a Zoom screen together for the Valley Today show.
Yes, a little bit different than last time for sure.
So how are things going for you in the Extension Office? Has your job changed dramatically because of the pandemic and so many people working from home and being in quarantine?
Yes, I would say it's definitely changed. We're still serving people, but we're doing it in an alternative way. I'm doing a lot of online programming. So I'm making a lot of food demo videos to show people how to cook at home.
When I did your introduction, I said you were a SNAP education agent. Can you explain to me what the SNAP program is and the role the Extension Office plays in educating people about it?
So SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It is through the USDA. So as a SNAP education agent, I help with nutrition education for limited income individuals. So talking about how to cook, and also I do policy systems and environmental changes within the counties that I serve. So working on farmers markets that accept SNAP, and retailers, and working with like grocery stores.
So the Extension Office itself doesn't really play a role in administering the SNAP program. You guys kind of come in after the fact for those who have qualified and are on the program and kind of teach them how to get the most bang for their SNAP bucks of sorts.
Right. We don't do the benefits. We don't give those out, but we do help with how to use those. And Karen Poff also does some great financial stuff about how you can use your money in the right way.
I know she's working right now on a coping with your money situation in the middle of COVID-19. She did a show with me last month on that and sent me an email earlier today because she's getting ready to kick off a whole new webinar series on that. So I need to reach out to her about that. But the one thing that kind of strikes me is while most of what you're doing is SNAP based, it is geared towards low income people. And some of us are low income now, even if we weren't before by virtue of being furloughed or laid off of our jobs. A lot of the suggestions and the tips and the tricks that you provide can be done across the board, whether you're part of the SNAP program or not.
Right. We can all be more on a budget. We can all benefit from the information that is shared through the Family Nutrition Program.
So I had asked you before we started recording for the radio show what you kind of wanted to talk about today, and you said that your overarching theme was how to have a happy and safe summer, and that includes a lot of different things. One of the things that you mentioned was food safety, and that's got to be a big deal, especially in the summertime when we all tend to relax maybe a little bit on how long we keep food sitting on a counter or on a picnic table than we do in the wintertime.
Right. So we want to make sure that we keep our hot foods at 140 degrees and our cold foods less than 40 degrees. So we can do this by keeping them on the grill until you're ready to eat it if you're grilling out, or keeping your cold foods in the cooler until you're ready to use them. And we always want to make sure that we separate our meats and our veggies. So we don't want our chicken to be on the same cutting board that we are going to then cut up some lettuce or something.
And that's important for people to understand, because a lot of times I'm afraid we don't learn that lesson until it's too late, because we've not done that and then we get sick and we're trying to figure out, wait a minute, why do I have this stomach bug? And it wasn't really a stomach bug. It was because you had raw chicken on the same cutting board that you were cutting up your tomatoes or something else.
Right. Food safety is very important to keep us healthy and active this summer.
And while we're all outside, at least trying to enjoy a little bit of the nice weather, I mentioned earlier, we're pre-recording this on a Wednesday afternoon. A storm has rolled into Middletown, so it's kind of gloomy. We were intending to have steaks on the grill for dinner this evening. Are you finding that a lot more people do grill and cook outdoors in nicer weather instead of using all of the appliances that we have in our kitchen? Does that present new problems for people in being safer in how they handle their food?
Yes. So we might not be checking our food temperatures. So if we cook meat, we want to make sure that we are using a meat thermometer to make sure that we're meeting that internal temperature. And if you're able to get outside and grill, that's awesome. That's a great way to get in some of those leaner proteins. Like if you do a chicken breast, that's a great leaner protein.
And I seem to recall, and I could be wrong, because that's become my theme these days. When you were on the show the last time, part of our conversation included some resources for listeners that maybe were looking for new recipes, or were looking for how to just double check that the way they're preparing something is the safest and most effective way. Do you guys offer access to resources like that?
Yes, our website is eatsmartmovemoreva.org. We have blog posts with great ideas for how to get active, how to grill safely. There's a bunch of recipes in our recipes tab. We even have a build your own, so you can sort of find out what you have in your fridge and customize one of those recipes for yourself.
And that's, I think is fantastic, because I'm forever standing in the pantry door, looking at what I have sitting on the shelves, or opening up the fridge and thinking, okay, I only have these things. I have no idea how to pull them together into an actual meal. I love that option that you have on your website to be able to just plug those things in, and suddenly it gives me a recipe for a casserole, or tells me how to prepare something differently than maybe I've traditionally done it and didn't think about.
Yes, and there's also some great videos from the dietetic students at Virginia Tech on there, and they're showing you how to make this. So even if, you're like, I don't know if I'm able to do this, you can watch the student make it, and you're like, oh, I've got this.
Yeah, I feel like if I watched a video where a student could do it, I would feel a whole lot more at ease if I gave it a shot, because it's not somebody from, say, the Food Network channel that is so much more experienced at cooking anything than I am.
Right. No Rachel Ray or Bobby Flay out here.
Yeah, I am so far away from that. I know there's a new TV show that they have on. I haven't watched it, but it's Worst Cooks or Worst Celebrity Cooks. And I'm thinking, that might be a show I would qualify for. So how do you typically interact with your clients? Obviously right now they're not necessarily coming into your office. Are they reaching out to you via email? How do you know who they are in order to get the information to them?
So we're doing a lot on our social media, which is most of our handles and names on social media are VAFNP. We have Facebook going on. I know that we've had Instagram stories. So that's how we're mostly getting in contact with participants.
Which again makes it easier too for anybody across the board to use some of these tips and suggestions and recipes, regardless of whether they're part of the SNAP program or not.
Right. Anybody is welcome to view any of our resources.
One of the other things that you mentioned to me that you wanted to make sure we talked about today was getting kids involved in cooking. Can we take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, talk about all the different ways to get the kids involved and the benefits to doing that in the second segment?
Yes. Sounds awesome.
Awesome. Well, we are going to take just a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk more with Molly Beardsley. It is Extension Office Friday. As you are listening to the show, we, however, are pre-recording it on a Wednesday afternoon. Molly is the SNAP education agent. She is based out of Page County with the Virginia Extension Office, and we're going to talk more with her in just a few minutes. Expecting to hear a commercial? That's what this is, sorta. First, I want to thank you for listening to the Valley Today podcast. You're one of thousands who listen to the show this way every month. Sometimes it's because our listeners are busy and they want to listen when it fits their schedule, or it's a guest of the show who want to hear what they sounded like when they were on the radio. We even have a few binge listeners who listen to a week's worth at a time. Can you even imagine? So if you want those people, your potential customers, to hear your message, then this could have been your ad. And the bonus, your commercial isn't restricted to just 30 or 60 seconds. You can take up to 2 minutes to talk to those customers. And there's even the opportunity to be an exclusive sponsor of the Valley Today podcast, which also gets you on-air mentions at the end of every show. If any of this sounds interesting to you, give me a call at the station, 540-635-4121, or send me an email to janet@theriver953.com. You can also find all my contact info by searching for me on theriver953.com. Welcome back to the Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. It is Extension Office Friday as you are listening to the show today. However, we have pre-recorded this conversation over Zoom with Molly Beardsley. She is a SNAP education agent. She is based out of Page County, and her program falls under the Family and Consumer Sciences Food, Nutrition, and Health program of the Virginia Extension Office. Molly, I want to make sure that people understand that even though you're based in Page County isn't the only area that you serve, is it?
No, I also serve Clark, Frederick, Winchester, Warren, Shenandoah.
You got to have a home office somewhere, and yours just happens to be in Page County.
Right, yes.
So we were talking in the last segment, you had mentioned that you wanted your overarching theme of our conversation today to be having a happy and safe summer. And we talked in the first segment about food safety and grilling out and all the different recipes and resources that are available on your website. What was the web address again?
It is eatsmartmovemoreva.org.
Awesome. And I will have a link to that up in the show notes. And if you missed any part of that conversation that we had in the first half, you can head over to theriver953.com, click the Valley Today banner on the front page, or choose podcasts, and it is already up on the website right now. So you can access that as you're listening to the show. But Molly, the other thing that you said you wanted to talk about today was getting kids involved in cooking, because I've read a lot of articles and done some research to show that when kids are involved at a young age in the preparation of meals, it tends to carry through into their adult life, where they eat healthier and are more well-rounded in the types of food they eat. So I would imagine getting them involved early is something you are really a huge fan of.
Yes, it's great to get them having those skills early. So then when they're on their own, they know how to prepare a meal, and they're not calling you up being like, hey, Mom, I don't know how to make ramen noodles or whatever.
You'd be in big trouble if you didn't know how to make ramen noodles. But that's kind of the whole point of this. You mentioned earlier about working with farmers markets to see which ones take SNAP. The underlying goal of all of this is to have people eating healthier and eating more fruits and vegetables and less prepackaged food. So getting them to cook in the kitchen and teaching them how to cut things up and how to boil things, it's a great activity to do with your kids.
Right, and it's a great bonding time too. You can talk about things going on in life. Maybe you want to talk to them about some deep things.
Yeah. Do you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend?
Right.
It's a great way to sneak those questions in.
Mm-hmm. And also you get to make a meal. You get to enjoy an end product too.
And you were telling me during the break, it doesn't even just, kind of keep itself to preparing and cooking the meal. You also recommend getting kids involved in the garden and planting the tomatoes and the peppers and the foods that they're ultimately going to eat.
Right. If kids are involved in growing their food, they're more likely to try it. So if you have a picky eater, a great way to try to get them to eat more fruits or veggies is to plant those and let them watch and observe how their plant grows. And hopefully they'll be more involved and likely to eat it.
Well, and seeds are relatively cheap. I mean, you could buy a pack of seeds for just about any vegetable at your local big box store or garden center. Typically, they're less than $1, and there are multiple seeds in there. That's got to be a pretty cost-effective way, too, of obtaining your food.
Yes. And, you can do a container garden. You don't need to put it straight into the dirt. You can use any sort of container that has holes in the bottom. So I've seen things where they've used old boots and 5-gallon buckets. You can get creative. All you need is a container, some dirt, some seeds, and some water.
My husband back in the day used to start his tomato plants. He would cut the top half off of a gallon milk jug and then put holes in the bottom of it and fill it full of dirt. And that was what he would use to start his tomato plants, because we had empty milk containers not in the fridge, but we would just save them when the milk was gone.
Right. It's a great way to recycle an old container.
Part of your goal, too, is to just get kids outside. I mean, obviously, planting their foods and maintaining a garden is something that you typically do outside. But one of the big things is to keep them off of either a TV screen or a computer screen or an iPad screen and just get them outside to be more active.
Right. So it's actually been found that most people spend 7 to 11 hours a day looking at a screen. And kids need at least 60 minutes of activity every day. So it's hard to find that balance, but we do want to get kids outside and getting active to meet that 60-minute physical activity a day.
Now, do you have suggestions for activities and things on the website that you mentioned earlier? I noticed that the second part of that website was Move More. So I have to assume there are activities for how to make that happen.
Yes, there are some great activities about how to get active as a family. So it doesn't have to be you just send the kids outside and do what you want. You can all get active together.
And that's kind of the underlying theme, too, for everything that you guys do in that program and through the Extension Office as a whole, is it really is about doing things together as a family and not really segmenting the kids doing something separate from the parents. You really do want everybody to be together and enjoying themselves.
Right. And we can all be more physically active or getting out in the garden. It's great for all of us to get involved in that.
And sometimes it's as simple as just taking a walk. If you live in a neighborhood that allows you to tell the kids, okay, every night after dinner, we're going to take a walk, and maybe somebody's in charge of counting the steps, or somebody has a phone that tracks the steps and see who can walk the most. You can really turn almost any regular activity into something fun, especially for the kids to do.
Right. You can make it a challenge, or you could even do a scavenger hunt and be like, who can find the most squirrels in the neighborhood?
That's a whole new version of I Spy. Are you finding that those are some of the requests that you're getting more of, especially once they closed schools and kids suddenly had to be home all day? Parents were home from work and they're like, okay, it's just easier to put them in front of a screen. How do you combat that thought process?
It's definitely been more screens with virtual school and, not as many opportunities to play, but we can, when we go to sleep, we can put our phones in another room. We can turn the TV off at least 30 minutes before bed. And then we can always, put on a yoga video or do a simple challenge like who can try to throw as many stuffed animals into a bucket or a bowl. We can get simple activities and let kids get creative with how they play.
Well, we joked in the first segment and a little bit in this one about getting kids involved in cooking. If you don't want them to be staring at a screen, maybe you can put them on the other side and do your own little at-home cooking show where you're videotaping your kids preparing the meals and pretending to be the chef. That might be an interesting way that still lets them think they're on a screen, but they're just on the other side of it.
Right. Yes. Kids love YouTube and all of that. So if they get to pretend to be their own star, I'm sure it would be a fun time.
Well, and it's funny how things have changed over the years. When I was little, and I won't even begin to tell you how many hundreds of years ago that was, we would, during the summer, Mom would send us outside and close the door, and she didn't want to see us again until the street lights came on. And we were at our own devices to figure out what we're going to do. We would ride our bikes and do all sorts of things. My son is now 25, and we didn't have nearly the screen issue when he was younger. But I had a timer. I'm like, okay, this is how much time you get in a day. You can decide whether you want to spend it on a computer or watching cartoons or doing whatever. But when this timer goes off, you are done for the day and are going to have to find something else to do. That sometimes makes it a little bit easier if you prepare the kids and they know, okay, I've only got so much of this time available to me.
Yes, that's a great way to do it, is limiting it in sections of time. Maybe you get 30 minutes before lunch and you get 30 minutes of screen time after lunch. That's a great way to do it.
Before we wrap up, what is the website again where people can get all kinds of information for having a happy and safe summer?
It is eatsmartmovemoreva.org.
And then you mentioned you have several social media networks. How would they find you on, say, Facebook or Instagram or any of those?
Search for Virginia Family Nutrition Program, or VAFNP is the tagline usually.
Fantastic. Well, Molly, thank you for spending some time with me on the Zoom screen today. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
We are going to wrap up today's episode. It has been Extension Office Friday as you were listening to the show. Molly and I, however, recorded this on a Zoom screen on a Wednesday afternoon. She is the SNAP Education Agent based out of Page County, but covers all 5 of our surrounding counties. That falls under the Family and Consumer Sciences Food, Nutrition, and Health Program of the Virginia Extension Office. I will put links to everything that Molly talked about on the show today. Get out, have a great weekend. I understand it's going to be a little hot and muggy, so maybe you want to spend a little bit more time inside cooling yourself off than outside, but get out, enjoy it. I will meet you back on the air a few minutes after noon on Monday, and I will have a brand new episode of The Valley Today ready to go for you.